Microphone's on. The job I've had for 20 years now is a property manager in a town called Bozeman, Montana. And I've had that job, and it's taken me down roads, avenues, cul-de-sacs, you name it, I've been on it. Bumpy roads, smooth roads, I've been on them. And I didn't understand that everything that I've done up until that time when I got my job, when I was 36 years old, 37 years old, was gearing me up to handle everything that I was going to face in the next 20 years of this job. To be a property manager, you have to love people. In every variety that there is, you have to love people. And that is not an easy job. Because people, unfortunately, are who they are. They are people. When I was in my early 20s is when I started to learn who I wanted to be. And at that time, I was pretty quiet. I had some outgoing traits, but I was basically pretty quiet. I was not a joiner. I was more of a observer, watcher, partaker. And in a lecture that I was at one time, I heard this guy talk about two kids in two separate gymnasiums. One kid in a room full of toys, of every imaginable toy at that time was there. And they were free to play with that toy. Other room was one huge, enormous pile of horse poo. Came back an hour later to check on the two kids. In the room full of toys, that kid sat in the middle of those toys, crying. And I was asked, why are you crying? I think these toys are wonderful, but I'm afraid if I play with one, I might break it. So I just sat here. I said, okay. Went to the other kid with a room full of horse poo and watched every piece of horse poo had been moved, examined, and looked at. And they were saying, why? What's going on? And the kid looked at him and smiled and said, yeah, with all this horse poo, there has to be a pony in here somewhere. When I heard that lecture, that's what I decided I wanted to be. I wanted to be the kid that was willing to look always for the pony in life. And I've tried to find them, and sometimes I have. Sometimes I have not. One person who was married at that time asked me to ride motorcycles with him. I had a motorcycle and I wanted to ride. I wanted to learn how to ride better. So I rode motorcycles with this husband and this wife throughout Minneapolis. We were just cruising the lakes. We were cruising the river. We were having a wonderful time. And they took me on some really awesome rides over the next month that I never would have experienced if I had not been with them. We were finishing up one ride. We're just going to stop by the house I was living at to get a glass of water and then go ride some more. We were sitting there at the dining room table, and they were talking with me, and they were saying, you know, we've really enjoyed our time with you. They're probably 10 years older than me. I was in my early 20s. They were in their middle 30s. They were married, and I enjoyed them. And they started talking with me, and they said, we wanted you to join our motorcycle group and ride with us even more. And I thought that would be wonderful, that I was going to be a chance to be in that group, because I wanted to be a part of that. They were a nice motorcycle gang, I thought. Didn't drink, didn't use drugs. What's harm in that? And then they said, but to be a part of that, you have to understand that we're Nazis. Nazis at that time didn't mean exactly what it means today, but it still meant pretty bad. And I couldn't figure out a way out of that situation fast enough. And from them, I learned I needed to know who I was rubbing up against, because people rub off on you. And if they were thinking that I was willing to be a Nazi, I was giving them permission to think that, and that's not okay. Because that's not my life. That's not what I wanted. I didn't want to be a person that didn't like people. I wanted to be a person that liked people. I wanted to continue to search for the ponies of life, not just a certain breed. Cookie Mastbaum, who I was part of at that time, was helping me through school. And Cookie was a learning specialist, and she was teaching me how to learn. I also didn't know at that time that she was teaching me how to live. And she was pushing on me to do some things that I was not really sure if I wanted to do. Another good friend of mine, along with Cookie at that time, was a guy named Bobby Grathwall. And he was working in the same place that I worked. He was running the parking lot. I was running the security desk at this hotel downtown Minneapolis. And I'd come by and see him as I was parking my car. And I'd talk to him about what Cookie was talking to me about. And Bobby Grathwall wanted to be my friend. And I wanted Bobby Grathwall to be my friend. And Bobby Grathwall gave me the greatest friendship I could imagine. He told me the truth. He didn't like to give me the truth. He didn't want to give me the truth. But he would look at me and say, you know, Joe, this is going to hurt. But I have to tell you, Cookie's right. And it was amazing. For the next couple of years, Bobby Grathwall, no matter what the truth was, no matter how hard it was going to be for me to possibly hear it, accept it, and process it, told me the truth. And that was an incredible gift he gave me. And even all these years, 35 years later, I think of nothing but incredible fondness that Bobby Grathwall is my friend and is still telling me the truth, even today. As hard as it is for me to hear it at times, he tells me the truth. One of the truths I had to work through was, who is it that I wanted to be? My mom and dad at that moment in time wanted me to be a welder, wanted to be a plumber, wanted me to be a tradesman. That's not what I wanted to be. Bobby Grathwall helped me walk through what it was at that moment in time in my early 20s. What is it that I wanted to do? And I wanted to be a drug and alcohol and family counselor and go to school to do that. And he helped me figure out how it was going to happen. He helped me with the plan. He helped me with the structure of the plan. And he helped me present the plan so that I could go to the school that I wanted to go to and do the things that I had to do to be in school, to be a drug and alcohol and family counselor. Another truth that Bobby Grathwall at that moment in time helped me through was the guy that was running the motel, it was called the Nicollet Hotel, downtown Minneapolis on Washington and Nicollet Avenue, was owned by Calvary Chapel. Pastor Gordy ran that whole building. He was the king. And he liked me, and he liked Bob. And he would take us underneath his wing, which is, I'm 6'2", he was 6'5". Today I weigh about 240. At that time, Pastor Gordy weighed 300 pounds. He was a big man. I have big hands. His hands could swallow mine. He was just big in every way. And one day at the security desk, he came up to me and said, I want to see you after your shift is completed. See me in the restaurant. You don't say no to Pastor Gordy. So I met him after my shift. And I went to the restaurant. And he sat down and we started to eat dinner after the waitress had left. And he said, you need to sort out something in your life. You've worked for me for a year now at the security desk. And you can either be Joe that rides the motorcycle and has that lifestyle, or you can be Joe, security guard, that all the people, that the residents of this hotel love. But you can't be both. Because you scare them when you show up on your motorcycle and you have all the accoutrements that go with being a motorcycle man. Security guard, the people love, and they understand that man. But you can't be both. And that was a hard thing to hear because I liked riding my motorcycle. I liked that lifestyle that went with riding my motorcycle. But I understood what Pastor Gordy was trying to tell me. I had to be approachable. On the motorcycle, with the gear, I wasn't approachable. In my security guard outfit, sitting there with my smile, watching the vigilance of the people that were coming in and out the doors and making sure that people were there and they were supposed to be there, I was approachable. I understood what Pastor Gordy was trying to tell me, and I embraced it. And I sold my motorcycle. But Bobby Grathwall is the friend that helped me through all that. As I grew up and got older, I had to leave Minneapolis and go somewhere else. And some other people came into my life to help me more on my journey. Judd Judkins, an incredible man, and his best friend Johnny Owens, who they both have passed on now. But those guys were incredible. And from then, my journey of learning how to be with people, accept people, love people kept going.